going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and this is your Fastlane 2023 preview. Let's talk about it. I don't know. I'm really excited about this show. I'm also really excited because it's Thursday and I have Friday off this week, so that's a nice thing. I got Monday off, so that's a nice thing. Nice 4-day weekend, and I'm in a really good mood. I'm in a really good mood because of some of the discourse that's going on the social medias right now about next Tuesday. But we will get to that when we get to it. Fastlane kind of seems like a throwaway pay-per-view. Kind of seems like an international show. Kind of seems like a house show. And the last time, with Payback, I kind of put the preface on it of, is this the house show we need? Because this is kind of feeling like a house show, and this might exactly be the house show that we need, because we're coming off the back of NXT's great pay-per-view, which was awesome. Go check out Becky Lynch versus Tiffany Stratton if you don't check out anything else, and if my opinion means anything to you. But the next big thing that's coming up, let's be real, is Survivor Series. If Fastlane absolutely tanked as a pay-per-view, which I don't think it will, because there's way too many talking points at the moment, but if Fastlane tanked right now, it wouldn't put a dent in whatever they're going to do at Survivor Series in November in Chicago. Oh yes. But that's the next big main one. They haven't really confirmed yet whether or not it's War Games, or at least if they have, I haven't seen it. But the month after that, in December, I get NXT Deadline, which means I get the Iron Survivor. So even if I don't get a War Games, I do get at least 2 Iron Survivor matches, which makes me a happy kid. Now, does that mean I don't want to have fun at Fastlane this weekend? No, I think it's going to be a heck of a show. Like I say, it's a long weekend for us up here in Canada, so Monday will be what Monday will be, and then Tuesday will be really fucking good. They're gonna lose, guys. Those guys on the other side of the line at the other company that treats everybody like shit are gonna lose. Oh yes. But Fastlane has 5 matches on it. Fastlane has 5 matches on it, so this should be a really quick preview. No, obviously, because I'm going to stick some other shit in there, but let's get the first match out of the way, because even though it's the match that I don't really care about that much, it's still going to be good. It's still got a lot of intrigue attached, and it's the LWO versus the New Hurt Business. Because I'm sorry, that's what they are. It's Bobby Lashley, and it's the Street Profits, and rumor has it that Cedric Alexander's kicking around in the background without Shelton Benjamin now. Not making fun of Shelton Benjamin, not cool that he got released, but whatever. And he's going to hook back up with them again, and it's going to be Hurt Business version 3.0. Throw Omos in there, it'll be fine. But it's the Hurt Business versus the LWO, and the LWO right now is represented by Rey Mysterio, Santos Escobar, and a third partner. And even on Wikipedia, they're saying, is it Joaquin Wilde, is it Cruz del Toro? Either one of those would be fine, but if you were going to use one of that tag team, you would have put them both in there with either Santos or Rey. Now, the other interesting thing, crossover with NXT Part 1, one guy that's been on both Raw and SmackDown recently has been Dragon Lee, and he's been getting his nose up in everybody's business and all that kind of thing. Now, if he's the third member, no, it doesn't really make any sense. No, it's kind of a, why would you do that kind of thing. But I'm sorry, Santos Escobar, Rey Mysterio, and Dragon Lee would be a hell of a trio. And I'm sorry, Bobby Lashley is awesome. He's a physical specimen, or whatever the current terminology is. The guy is a fucking beast. But I don't care when he's having a match. Street Profits, different story. Street Profits, entertaining as hell. Particularly Montez Ford. I have sympathy for him for other reasons, but Montez Ford is fucking fantastic. When he drops Angelo Dawkins and becomes a singles star, he's gonna be fan-fucking-tastic. Street Profits as a duo are amazing. They're very, very cool, very, very entertaining to watch. I don't know in ring how they're going to mesh with Bobby Lashley. So, where is the intrigue then? Well, the intrigue is that eventually Santos Escobar is going to turn on Rey Mysterio. So what I've heard posited is that Rey Mysterio is going to put Dragon Lee in this match along with himself and Santos. Santos is going to somehow fuck up and eat the pin. He's going to turn on Rey. His buddies from Legado won't be in the match, so they'll be very easily the guys that are butthurt, the guys that felt left out, the guys that will stay with Santos, and they'll stay with Santos as Legado del Fantasma once again, and maybe Rey hangs on to Dragon Lee and somebody else. Santos and Rey as a proper feud will be awesome. Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee as a short-term tag team would be awesome. If this is a sneaky way to sort of solidify the Dragon Lee call-up to the main roster, absolutely fantastic. I just don't know how Hurt Business 3.0 are going to work in the ring, because they haven't. Bobby Lashley has been a gigantic manager for these guys ever since the three of them kind of started associating. Now, these two have also associated very, very, very briefly with Trick and Mello on NXT, which led to a podcast that I did not too long ago that I would love it if you guys would check out. And it's I think I entitled it The Rise and Fall of the New Hurt Business. Now, if that all comes together, that big conglomerate could be awesome. Don't get me wrong. But right now, just as a trio, Bobby Lashley's kind of the opposite of the Street Profits, and I don't see that. I see them being a group. I see him having matches where they help him. I see them having matches where he helps them. I don't see them as a trio. I can't put my finger on why either. And like I say, I want to be very, very clear. Not a dig at Bobby Lashley. Just not exactly where I want to see him. This is a platform to showcase whatever the Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio story is. And like I say, they're using all of this. They're using a new group like the New Hurt Business. They're using the popularity such as it is of the LWO at the moment. We're using the shock and the spotlight of the potential heel turn of Santos Escobar and the Hall of Fame career and notoriety of Rey Mysterio to platform the call-up of Dragon Lee. That's awesome. That's worth it in and of itself. Take that idea, that possibility, the fact that we're even talking in, hey, they could do something cool like this terms, and flash that back to NXT call-ups of old, where you had something awesome like the original Demon Finn Balor, who was brought up onto Monday Night Raw, made a babyface, and told to smile a bunch. Jordan Miles is on Twitter right now having flashbacks, but we don't need to worry about that right now. I want to say the LWO win this, but the LWO are the ones that have the split-up story happening. Not to be outdone by the fact that Bobby Lashley has been managing the Street Profits for a hot minute and he's already shitting on them. So I'm going to go LWO if there's no split. I'm going to go Hurt Business if there's a split, because that's what's going to happen with a split. Now, before we get to the one and only women's match on the card, because WWE's pulling a little something out of the Tony Khan playbook. Not a fan. I'll be fair. Tony Khan's a piece of shit, but WWE doesn't need to pick up any bad habits. I'll be fair. Quickly talk about Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch carrying the NXT Championship and representing it on Raw, defending it on Raw. She'll be defending it against Tegan Nox on Raw this week, and then after that, she'll be defending it against Lyra Valkyria at Halloween Havoc. She's already given 2 great matches to Tiffany Stratton, who is still criminally underrated. I've been over that. I don't need to go over it again. She came out on NXT this past week to set up a triple threat match to see who would be the next person to face her. She's like, I just had an awesome match with Tiffany Stratton. I wasn't able to wrestle on Raw. I'm going to wrestle Tegan Nox next week on Raw, but I need an opponent for Halloween Havoc. Like, she's pulling the roster that is already good. She is not making the roster good. I am not saying that, but she is pulling that roster into her spotlight, and that's exactly what a crossover like this should do. I don't think Tegan Nox is going to beat her on Raw, I'll be fair. Her match with Lyra Valkyria, off the back of a match that Lyra Valkyria already had with Rhea Ripley not too long ago. Again, another cool bit of crossover, but it gave us a cool triple threat match with Roxanne Perez and Indy Hartwell, who also returned to NXT. So Becky Lynch's run as a main roster talent with an NXT championship isn't as obnoxious as people are making it out to be. It's really, really not. And also, her busying herself with that and using that as a tool to get people over means she's not in the orbit of Rhea Ripley, who's having her awesome title run on Raw right now, which makes it even more of a bummer that she doesn't have a match on this card. Rhea Ripley had a sort of a 4-way collision brawl with Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, and Raquel Rodriguez. This could have been a match on the pay-per-view. Even if I would not mind if they just did a schmoz that went to a no contest. But, you know, all the big wrecking balls of the women's division, Rhea Ripley, Nia Jax, for better or for worse, Shayna Baszler, and Raquel Rodriguez, Rhea Ripley, fucking star. You guys have heard me say it 100 times. Nia Jax is basically her job is to be there so that the fans say, oh my god, anybody but her. Shayna Baszler, if they ever build her properly, which they do, and then they don't, and then they do, and then they don't. I said it. Again, I'm going to plug another podcast that I did not too long ago. NXT gave us the perfect main event for WrestleMania 40. Go check that out. It's not that many pods ago. And Raquel Rodriguez would be, I'm sorry, because she's kind of boring as well, much like Bobby Lashley. Raquel, awesome. Like, athletically, she is fantastic. I don't know if WWE have decided what her character is. And I don't know if WWE have really decided whether I'm supposed to like her or not, because if I'm not supposed to like her, then fine. If I am supposed to like her, she's kind of bordering on obnoxious babyface. If they tighten that up a little bit and tell me how I'm supposed to receive her, I'll probably better receive what she does in the ring. How's that? But if Nia Jax wasn't in this match and it was a triple threat, Shayna Baszler, Rhea Ripley, Raquel Rodriguez, I'd be like anybody but Raquel. Right now, Rhea Ripley owns that belt, and she will, or at least she should, own that belt until WrestleMania, where no, she's not going to cross over and defend it against Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair has been handed enough. But even though I'm meh on Nia Jax, I'm sort of, I want to be invested in Raquel Rodriguez, but I'm not yet. I'm into Shayna Baszler. I'm into Rhea Ripley. Even with that mixed bag of reaction, they should have thrown this Fatal 4-Way on the card. It would have been a lot of fun. Like, car crash match. Give me a car crash match. These ladies could beat the living shit out of each other. It would be fine. Just don't let Nia Jax punch anybody in the nose. Everybody will be fine. Io Sky versus Asuka versus Charlotte for the SmackDown, what do they call it now? It's just the WWE Women's Championship. Io Sky's still the champion. It's Io Sky versus Asuka, which we've all wanted. When we finally got it on SmackDown, obviously shenanigans ensued. But you take a great match like Io Sky and Asuka, and I'm sorry, listen to me when I say this. How do you make that match better? You put in Charlotte Flair. You don't have to like Charlotte Flair. You don't have to get weirdly political about it on Twitter. But Charlotte Flair has everybody's best match. Charlotte Flair, I love Rhea Ripley at the moment, as I just said. Rhea Ripley had her best match with Charlotte Flair last year at WrestleMania. Should have been the main event of night one. No offense to KO and Sami Zayn, no offense to the Usos. You guys know I love the Usos. But if you want to show parity, if you want to show equality and all the other things that we're supposed to tout in 2023, Cody main evented night two, Rhea should have main evented night one. That's it. It just should have been that way. I'm not going to go over it again. It's fine. But Charlotte has everybody's match. People used to say that somebody else, who's not in the company anymore because she had a temper tantrum, had everybody's best match. But she had her best matches with Charlotte. I like Becky Lynch. You have better matches with Charlotte. I like Bayley, who's not really getting the props that she deserves right now. But you have better matches with Charlotte, no matter who you are. You might get squashed. That's fine. You might have to, oh my god, take a loss. Just because she's white, blonde, successful, and you don't like who her dad is, doesn't mean she's not the best fucking wrestler they have on that brand. She's not the biggest star they have on that brand right now. The biggest star they have on that brand right now is Rhea fucking Ripley. But Charlotte has everybody's best match. So you throw Io Sky and Asuka, who are already awesome, you throw them Charlotte Flair, you give them the opportunity to cheat a little bit, you eliminate bullshit endings like disqualifications and countouts and timeouts and all that kind of shit when you make it into a triple threat match. People are pissed off about Charlotte Flair because people will always be pissed off about Charlotte Flair. Now there's a couple of questions, again, going into this. Going back to the NXT thing once again, we know next Tuesday on that, oh my god, that episode of NXT where WWE are cheating by putting WWE talent on a WWE show. Asuka's facing Roxanne. I'm sorry, you people can fuck off. If you're mad about the Tuesday thing, if you think WWE's cheating, if you think they're stacking the deck by putting their talent on their shows, I would urge you to look at Ring of Honor and how many Ring of Honor titles are held by superstars that are on Dynamite and Collision and Rampage, because yeah, Rampage is still a thing even though nobody knows it. But Asuka is facing Roxanne Perez. That right now is pretty cut and dry. It's Roxanne Perez has to beat Asuka because Asuka is Kiana James's chosen challenger for her to get through to get to Kiana James. Now, that says Roxanne Perez, plucky babyface, scores the upset victory over Asuka, which would be huge for her, which would be awesome, on her way to getting her hands on Kiana James. Now, if Asuka walks out on Saturday with the championship, with the main championship of SmackDown, I don't know whether that's such a definite result anymore. It would be really interesting. It would be a hell of a swerve, seeing as technically the NXT championship is held by Becky Lynch, who's on Raw, to have somebody from NXT hold the championship from SmackDown. It wouldn't have to last very long. Put some great highlights on Roxanne Perez. God knows she deserves it. But yeah, there's a little fly in the ointment there. Io Sky, if all the other shit was put to the side, I hope Io Sky continues her title run, because she just got it, and it took her way too long to get there as far as the booking goes. Now, for the intrigue of the NXT thing, I think that the chances of them putting it on Asuka to put an extra spotlight on Asuka so that Asuka can put an extra spotlight on NXT, because that's how promotion works, I find that to be a very interesting prospect and a hell of an opportunity for Roxanne Perez. I'm sitting here touting the value of Charlotte Flair on the roster. There's not a single reason why Charlotte Flair needs to win this match. I'm not hoping that she wins this match. I'm not pushing for her to win this match. I'm not even advocating or predicting that she will win this match. But she will make the match better. She will. It's fine. You'll be fine. Somebody you don't like got a match. You'll live. Io Sky or Asuka. Io Sky for the long-term holder of the belt thing. Asuka for all the reasons that I just mentioned. It'll be a shot in the arm for NXT, which is nice. Now, all of this is overshadowed by the debut, or the potential debut, of Jade Cargill. Now, this is what you do with Charlotte Flair. Honestly, I'm going to try and be nice about the Jade Cargill thing, because I could not give a flying fuck about Jade Cargill. She was booked like Ryback in AEW, but AEW doesn't know how to book women, so maybe that's not all her fault. I will try to come at this with an open mind. Here's what you do. However this match ends, whether it's Io continuing her title reign, whether it's Asuka becoming the new champion, and taking that title down to NXT and having the match with Roxanne Perez, and maybe Io Sky fucks her over on NXT because she's pissed off she just lost her title. That's how Roxanne Perez gets her win. She gets to go face Kiana James. What you do, no matter what, Charlotte doesn't win, and that's fine. So Io Sky and Asuka, maybe after the match they brawl to the back and Charlotte's left laying in the ring, and then you hear if she gets the music and whatever, oh, the storm is coming, oh, it's Charlotte Flair, she can't possibly win this because then we'll accuse WWE of things. And I've heard a rumor that it'll happen in Saudi, and people will lose their minds over that. But Saudi, they put a lot of money into those shows. They make the shows big. They put those shows in big-ass buildings. You want to have a cool debut for Jade Cargill? Put her up against Charlotte Flair in a huge money-making stadium, and put the politics aside for a moment. Not saying ignore the politics. The politics involved in the Saudi Arabia shows is a thing. I'm not pretending it's not. But when you set it aside, they're also some of the biggest shows WWE does in the year. And if you want to debut Jade Cargill in a huge fucking stadium against Charlotte fucking Flair, there are worse ways to debut in the company. Remember when Fandango debuted against Chris Jericho at WrestleMania? Think about it like that, but with politics involved. Anyways, I'm really coming around on it. The Jade Cargill thing, like I say, I don't care. Maybe WWE will prove me wrong. But, and I said this before, and I'll probably end up saying it again, the way they are presenting it, the way they are not dragging it out as a surprise, because at this point it's in all the headlines and everything like that, the way they are hyping her up before she even arrives is awesome. And that's what will bring more people to the good company. I'm sorry, the company that doesn't fuck people over and then revel in it and then call themselves good people. When I say realistically, I'd like WWE to get their hands on DIY, on Ricky Starks, on what's his name? Not Guevara, the other one, Garcia. And people like that. When I say I would love a Chris Statlander to come in, or an Athena / Ember Moon to come back, hey, guys, look at all the shit we've handed Cody Rhodes, and look at all the shit we're handing Jade Cargill. It's a good move on their part. I may not like the person involved. I might not be the most excited about who the person is, but the way they are preparing the way for Jade Cargill to make her a rival is fucking ace by WWE, which isn't really a surprise to anybody. WWE is always really good at stuff like that. Before we talk about the Tag Team Championship, which will be a lot of fun and has a lot of weirdness to it, there's 2 tag matches on this show with 2 ramshackle thrown together tag teams, and there's a lot of other tag teams sitting in the locker room. That's not great. They're going to be fun on the night, don't get me wrong, but both tag team matches have thrown together teams on them, and that means you've got a lot of tag team wrestlers waiting in the back that aren't doing very much on the night. That's not so great. Need to work on that. Including the newly reunited fucking DIY. Oh, yes. And yes, I'm going to be an NXT nerd. I don't care. DIY are fucking awesome. For ages when they were in NXT, I was like, okay, Usos on the main roster, DIY in NXT. Let's get DIY up onto the main roster. Let's get DIY versus the Usos. Can't do that now because the Usos have split and whatever, and then they called up Gargano and then they didn't, and then they called up Ciampa and put him with The Miz for reasons. DIY reunited this past week on Raw because Ciampa was having a shot at the Intercontinental Championship and didn't succeed, obviously, and then got the crap kicked out of him by Imperium to the returning Johnny Gargano, and then they did all their tandem DIY offense. Apparently in the States, they cut to a trailer for Chucky right as DIY were about to do the meet in the middle. That sucks. That's almost as bad as, you know, showing a picture-in-picture of a pizza ad while one of your wrestlers is running a pizza grater on somebody's face. Yeah, who would possibly do that? I have no earthly idea whatsoever. If nothing else, especially after this week's Dynamite, whatever you're going to come to WWE with, you can't come to them on production. You really can't. You can't. And that's not what we're here for. You know, WWE makes movies. They're not here to make movies. They're here to give you some wrestling. But when there's not wrestling happening, they are making movies. They're letting it cook. Oh, yes. Anyways, DIY aside, because that was really cool. I haven't done a WWE last week in a while, but I did want to touch on that. I did want to touch on the Becky stuff earlier as well. The Tag Team Championship matches, the Judgment Day, represented by Damian Priest and Finn Balor, are taking on the team of Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. Now, I love... Again, they're giving all the credit to Cody Rhodes, which is a little obnoxious, but I love the way they've brought Jey Uso over, and it's like, oh, you've broken away from the bloodline. You're automatically a good guy, and everybody, mostly symbolized by Drew McIntyre, is saying, no, you're a dick. You have been a part of the downfall of a lot of us. You have fucked us all over. You have fucked us out of hometown victories and title shots and wanting to get our hands on Roman and wanting to get our hands on you and all that kind of... And I think it's been played out really well because the obnoxious part of it is Cody Rhodes brings him over to give him a new lease on life, and then when he has no friends, Cody Rhodes comes back around and gives him a pat on the back and says, I'll be your friend because I'm the good guy. It's all a little saccharine from the Cody Rhodes point of view, but I am interested in how Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso will work as a tag team. I do think that part of it will be cool. I've never taken anything away from Cody Rhodes in the ring. Let's be clear. Judgment Day have to win this. It's a thrown together team versus the tag team champions, but also, as I said, Rhea Ripley doesn't have a match. Dominic Mysterio, even though he has his NXT North American Championship back, this isn't an NXT show, so he's not defending that title tonight. And the bringing together of the Judgment Day and JD McDonough has been further solidified when they got the title back from Trick Williams on NXT this week and put it back around the waist of Dominic Mysterio so Dominic Mysterio could go home to mommy. It's all coming together. This is 5-on-2. It's 5-on-2 with a team of Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso where nobody likes Jey Uso and everybody's kind of pissed off at Cody Rhodes for bringing Jey Uso. So theoretically, they shouldn't have any help. They shouldn't. Now, after they lose, and there's a post-match beatdown, then yes, then you bring out Sammy, then you bring out Kevin Owens, and then you make all your hints and suggestions towards War Games at Survivor Series because that's the next story we have to tell. Absolutely. But in the match, it's 5-on-2. And I know it's super Cody booking, but no, because I have a further idea as well that we're going to talk about in a second, where everybody in the Judgment Day is going to have gold. So don't worry about that. They have to win. And I'm not saying this as a dig on Cody Rhodes. You guys know what a fan I am of Jey Uso. The Bloodline should be done by now, because the Bloodline was the Jey Uso story. Argue with the wall. I'm not even doing it. Now, again, the great intrigue of all of this feeds into, it's almost like Monday Night Raw might as well not happen. All of this feeds into Tuesday because Cody Rhodes is coming to NXT for a big announcement. Now, if Cody Rhodes comes to NXT to announce that the Dusty Classic is coming back and he wanted to be at the brand that his dad built to bring back the Dusty Cup, that's fine. A little deflating and a little obvious, but okay. If Cody Rhodes is coming to NXT to announce that that Jade Cargill is about to debut on NXT, I'm going to laugh my ass off. But the point being, Cody Rhodes is going to be at NXT on Tuesday. You know what? So is Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman could have the Bloodline with him. Jey Uso is a tag team partner, at least temporarily, of Cody Rhodes. You could have the Bloodline implode on NXT. That's fine. The Judgment Day are probably also going to be on NXT because one of them is the NXT North American Champion. So whatever happens here could lead to something on NXT. How fucking crazy is that? How fucking crazy is that? Imagine if there's a breakdown in the Carmelo Hayes Braun Breaker match and it becomes Braun Breaker and Jimmy Uso. And Braun Breaker and Jimmy Uso versus John Cena and Carmelo Hayes. Or Braun Breaker, Jimmy Uso, and Solo Sikoa versus, get it, Jey Uso, John Cena, and Carmelo Hayes. On a random-ass episode of NXT. This will feed into that, but they need to go in with their belts. Also, Judgment Day is allowed to be on NXT. It ain't cheating because they're the tag team champions, and the tag team champions can go to any brand they want, just like the women's tag team championships. Do we have those still? Yeah, we do. Checks notes. It's fine. Lots to come out of this. Very predictable result. Champs retain. Do we tease the... What do we do? Do we tease the War Games match? I don't know. Do we tease the further inclusion of JD McDonough? I don't know. Will it all affect what's happening on NXT Super Tuesday? I don't know, but I'm tuning in to find out. It's going to be a lot of fun. And like I say, my opinion of Cody Rhodes aside, I am really intrigued on how the tag team of Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso is going to work. Not so intriguing is our current World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins once again taking on Shinsuke Nakamura in a last man standing match. Now, Seth Rollins retained his championship at the last pay-per-view, but Shinsuke Nakamura was the one that was able to walk out of the building. Kind of a Triple H and Undertaker justification. Seth Rollins was sort of shaken by the fact that he couldn't walk out of the arena under his own power. His wife had to walk him out in a wheelchair and all that. He has pursued his challenger, which is a really cool storyline that doesn't always work. This doesn't have the teeth. This rivalry doesn't have the teeth that I think WWE thinks it does, which is kind of unfortunate. We're kind of a couple years past believing a real strong Shinsuke Nakamura push, which is also really disappointing because you guys know me, I don't watch New Japan. I haven't seen Shinsuke Nakamura in his heyday, and I don't think, because I see him on my TV screen every week, I'm not necessarily motivated to go backwards and look. The closest I have is his debut in NXT against Sami Zayn, which was awesome. Which was absolutely awesome. I think it's pretty safe to say Seth Rollins doesn't leave this pay-per-view with his title. I think... and this is not based on anything. I haven't read anything. I haven't seen any rumors. But if I was WWE, I would write off Seth Rollins. I would give him Survivor Series off because on Raw, the big babyface tag team for War Games, if they're going to do it, is going to be Jay, Cody, Sammy, and KO taking on the Judgment Day. That's fine. We can play up to that. Maybe we have an actual WWE, what do you call it, Universal Championship defense from Roman instead. But I think you have him have his swan song here, bring him back around Royal Rumble, get him back involved around WrestleMania season. But if Seth Rollins is actually going through what he's kayfabe going through, and apparently it's a little of column A and a little of column B, then yeah, write him off. Now, so what do? Do you have him gut it out and survive and defeat Shinsuke Nakamura? Do you have Shinsuke Nakamura just, like, be a dick and, like, take a sledgehammer would be actually quite ironic, but, like, take a chair, take a sledgehammer, or take a fucking ring post and just, like, jam it in his spine until he can't stand up or whatever, and have Nakamura actually walk out with a world championship? I wouldn't mind that. I absolutely wouldn't mind that, because when they gave Shinsuke the Rocket was him and AJ having a dick-kicking contest for a couple of months. So Nakamura walking out with the championship and that being the end of the story on the night won't hurt my feelings at all. I think what would be better, though, is Shinsuke Nakamura does everything he can, can't beat him, loses, beats the shit out of him after the match, and then Damian Priest comes out almost cruelly and just sort of lays a hand, or sort of like drops the briefcase on him and steps on it to win the belt, because the cash-in's going to happen eventually. The cash-in's not going to happen on Roman Reigns, and as I say, if you're going to write off Seth Rollins, have it be on the back of getting beaten down by two guys instead of one. He still gets to come back as the returning hero eventually. It's all good. Now, what do I do here? I do a lot of things. Damian Priest wins the World Championship. They celebrate on Raw. They do a little bit of fast talking here to make what I'm saying work. But do you remember when the New Day were the tag team champions? And any two of the three of them could carry the belts. They called it the New Day rule. You know, they were making reference to the Freebird rule and all that kind of thing. Damian Priest comes out. He's so celebratory that he won the World Heavyweight Championship that he turns to his buddy Finn, his teammate, his faction mate, Finn Balor. I'm in such a good mood. I finally decided, yeah, I don't mind, your buddy can join us. In fact, I've got this now. Why doesn't he carry the other tag team championship for our team? And then Finn Balor and JD McDonough go on and have a cool run as your tag team champions, and Damian Priest goes on for a little while. It would be a test. It would be a test title run for him, because as much as Damian Priest is awesome, I mean, he really had his coming out party at Backlash in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And he's been killing it ever since. Sorry about that. Starting to get a bit dry in here. But there's two people that could be considered the leaders of the Judgment Day, and that's Finn Balor and that's Rhea Ripley. So him being the one to gain the World Heavyweight Championship, it's a test. It's a test I want to see him have, by the way. I hope he kills it. But I think that way, you know, the briefcase is out of the way. The briefcase is always sort of like an awkward ornament for somebody to be carrying around. But now Priest is carrying a belt, Finn's carrying a belt, JD is carrying a belt, Dom got his belt back, and Rhea Ripley is carrying a belt. Priest also has the belt that is pretty much identical to Rhea Ripley's, other than the belt strap color. I don't think they're going to do all of that, but him winning does present the opportunity to do that. They could do something equally boring and just say Seth gutted it out and he's still the champion and that's all. But who knows? It depends. A lot of it will depend on whether the tag title match is happening first or whether the last man standing match is happening first. Now, normally people would say that, well, why would you even question which is going to happen last? Obviously, a last man standing match is going to go on last. That happens to be the main event. No, because either way, it's not going to be the main event. The main event is going to be Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa taking on the all-star team of John Cena and LA Knight. Yeah. I mean, it just is. I don't even necessarily agree with that. I kind of hate that. But it's John Cena, and he's wrestling on a B pay-per-view. It's going to be the main event. The super team wins. Like, that's not even a question. The if you want to look at the bloodline right before they split apart, the number 3 and number 4 members of the Judgment Day are going up against John Cena and the guy that's getting the push, LA Knight. Now, is this where Roman Reigns comes back after the fact? Do they lose and Roman Reigns comes out and beats the shit out of his cousins? Because that could happen. Do they lose and Roman Reigns comes down and stares down John Cena and LA Knight? Yeah, that could happen. Do they lose and then Roman Reigns shows up with Paul Heyman on NXT? Yeah. Roman Reigns and Braun Breaker versus Carmelo Hayes and John Cena. Give it, put it in my fucking veins. I'm sorry, I know I'm looking past this show that I'm supposed to be previewing, but NXT is going to destroy Dynamite next week. And if you think I'm wrong, watch this space. I don't care. I really, really don't care. NXT going to win. AEW fans going to cry. They're going to have a big cry. They're going to all get together and have a hug and cry. That's what's going to happen on Tuesday. Oh, yes. And I know the excuse tweets are already in the drafts of all your sock accounts. I understand that. I can't wait for the waterfall. Literally and Twitterally. Oh, there you go. There you go. Literally and Twitterally. I'm going to use that again because I feel like being obnoxious. But now, Roman Reigns comes down, stares down Cena and LA Knight. Why? Because the rumor is, once again, Cena versus Roman in Saudi. Why the fuck not? Why the fuck not? And long-term, LA Knight's getting a title shot at some point. At some point, LA Knight's getting a title shot. Do I think he's going to win? No. Do I think it's going to be a lot of fun? Yeah. LA Knight and Roman Reigns on the mic. LA Knight, Roman Reigns, and Paul Heyman on the mic. Gonna be awesome. Gonna be awesome. You know what I would love to see? I would love to see LA Knight walk out on NXT and punch, what's his name? Paul Heyman in the face. The distraction costs Braun Breaker the match at the end of the night. At the end of the night, who's standing in the middle of the ring? Mello, Cena, and LA Knight. Yeah! I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.